All right. I'm so excited to introduce our community today to Monica Packer, coach, podcaster, and writer who helps women to grow and something that sticks. I can't wait to talk about that. Monica has spent years working with women who wrestle with the belief that progress isn't perfect, and this is why we're going to get along. It isn't good enough. Her practical coaching method encourages sustainable change for real life, not just when things are going smoothly, which I want to unpack that as well. Her forthcoming book speaks directly to this, to teaching women how to let go of rigid standards and focus on building habits that actually fit into busy family lifestyles at all seasons of life. As a former teacher and mother of five, Monica knows what it means to manage competing priorities and stay committed to growth. Oh my goodness, we're so excited to have you, Monica. Welcome.
I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, we have a lot. I feel like we could just stop at those words, perfectionism
Yeah.
and progress, and have a whole conversation around it. But I think, especially with the audience knowing your life's not calm, cool, and collected, just saying the word five kids. I have all moms basically that listen to this in some form, and people are like, oh, you're like, you're in it. Your youngest is 3 and your oldest is 15, right? So
Yeah. So we
yeah,
got
you're
a
not
good
far
spread.
behind.
No,
Yeah.
we're right in the middle of December, regardless of when this airs. Like everyone knows how crazy the end of the school year is. But on top of
Yes.
it, we're having car problems, and half of our ceiling in the basement is now open because we're having a gas leak too. So yeah, life is not cool, calm, and collected around here. And it honestly never is. I keep waiting.
I think strip that expectation, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's just gone. It's just got to be gone now.
Yes, if we're ever blessed to live to the point where we get back to just the hubby and us, it's like, huh, is that going to be boring?
Yeah, that's a huge adjustment for many women. I end up coaching a lot of women who are in that stage, and it's a very hard stage too.
I agree. And all the more reason. And this is, I love that you're like still thriving a bit in career, whether that's part-time or full-time for you, but just that. So when you launch, that there is something that you still love to hang on to and that you know about yourself. So feel free to speak over our community with that too, because we're the same. Like a
Yeah.
lot of women trying to refine themselves after that launching of last child. And
Hmm.
what does this next season of life look like? It
Yeah.
can be exciting. It should be exciting if we treat
Yeah.
it right. So, oh,
That's one of
yeah.
the biggest focuses for me too, is just identity. That's why my habits and identity coach, they go hand in
Mm.
hand, like in very surprising ways. But it all started with the identity piece for me as a young mom who felt lost to motherhood. But I see this come up with every client I've ever worked with, whatever stage they're at, we always have to come back to who am I at this stage in my life, at this season, or in this moment, or because of these circumstances. So if someone's navigating that and they thought they already navigated it before, it's a cyclical thing. You're not doing it wrong. This is just part of life.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. I think that's comfy for people to hear that why am I the only one that looks like it's chaotic or
Yeah.
it's whatever season we're in and whatever we want to show others, right? Like somebody else could be in a very chaotic season, but making it look very smooth. And that's the dangerous
Yeah,
part.
you
That
never, yeah, you never know.
actually, I don't want to leave this piece of identity. I love that word. I feel like we build identity statements in our community.
Oh,
And I'm
beautiful.
curious when you felt go through that moment where you're like, I am losing my identity and your ideas or how you grasped and to come back and not feel that way
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Mm-hmm. So part of my story involves perfectionism, which we I know are going to talk about today. So I'll tell a little bit about that and how that played into that loss, because perfectionism really is a misplacement of identity. It's placing our identity on our outcomes. It can be a coping mechanism too for those who have gone through trauma, but most commonly, and I would say even pervasively, it's this kind of misplacement of identity, whether we have them or not. Perfectionism is a spectrum. There's overachieving, there's underachieving, and there's everything in between. So think all, nothing. But regardless of where you are, whether you're in the all camp, you're hustling, you're burning out, you're paying major prices for it, or you're in the nothing camp because of the burnout or because of fear, and you're staying on the sideline waiting for the right time or the skill set or the courage or the certainty that you won't fail, or you're bouncing back and forth between the two. It's how are you perceiving yourself outside of your outcomes? If it's based off of what you can do and you're trying to hustle to achieve it, or they're based on what you are not or your failures, we have the same problem. And that was true for me when I was approaching my 20th birthday. And then actually around that time, I was the stereotypical perfectionist that everyone aspired to be. And I aspired to be a perfectionist. I thought that was a good thing, a good
Mhm.
trait. But I struggled with multiple eating disorders and with them a lot of mental health issues that brought my life to a screeching halt. And out of necessity, I went to a safe place of not trying anymore. As part of
Mhm.
my healing, it took about 10 years for me to really see some progress in some significant parts of that. I was too afraid. I thought the only way to grow, to achieve, to go after a goal, or to even just change small parts of my life outside of my responsibilities, I thought that required all or nothing. And I knew the price I paid. I didn't want to ever pay that price again.
Mhm.
And then when I approached my 30th birthday, I found myself similarly really struggling with mental health issues, lost in my own life, not sure who I was anymore. And it was the same, even though I was on the different part of the spectrum of perfectionism. At that point, I was a young mom, so I'd really lost myself to these good intentions of just trying to be a good mom. For my responsibilities, I could show up. I was a teacher before that, as you said. So for everyone else, I could do it. But for myself, that's where the fear kept me safe on the sidelines. And it was similar when I was an overachieving perfectionist. I was lost to those outcomes too. I got to the point where I couldn't maintain that. The price was too high, and I wasn't sure who I was anymore outside of it. So at the 30 mark, I realized it was time to try to find a new way. If all doesn't work, if nothing doesn't work, if they both lead me to the same place of feeling lost to my own life, then there has to be a different way. And that's where I began an experiment of progress outside of perfectionism. And I began with more identity, just trying to figure out, who am I? If I'm not my outcomes, who am I? And if my outcomes don't matter, then how do I try now without falling for that all or nothing trap? How do I look for sustainable ways to change, to grow, to develop myself, to make life feel like my own, to reclaim my life? And now I'm nearing 40. I'm turning 40 in just a couple weeks here. And so I should be due for another 10-year crisis, which I tend to have. But I think for the most part, I'm going to avoid that to the extent that it was before, because I can tell you, I know better than I ever have who I am. Also, I have grown exponentially as I've made space for failure and the messy middle, as I've moved forward with compassion instead of shame, like I had as a perfectionist on both sides of that spectrum. And life is so much better and richer. And there's also so much possibility. I'm never going to be done growing. And now that I
Right.
know that's the point, I'm
Yes.
enjoying it way more too. And life isn't just about what I get done in a day either. So there's a lot more space for hobbies and for rest and relationships than I ever had before too, even though life is busier than ever too. So I'm going to be honest about that as well. So that's kind of my 10-year marker period that also relates to what we need to talk about perfectionism with your audience today.
Yes, thank you for highlighting, first of all, that spectrum of the all or nothing. Like you lived both sides of it. So I think that's interesting and also super hopeful because I have a lot of people that tell me I'm really trying hard to live in the gray and this is so hard. I am definitely the all or nothing. Like that's where our crowds
Yeah.
definitely line up as well. So it's always hopeful to see somebody who has stepped out of it and they're thriving out of it. And then you also highlighted the piece. I remember feeling this way as a 20-year-old, that there was like a timeline on my career. And that if I didn't have it all put together and good to go by, call it 35, then it was done. Then I missed my window and then those doors shut and we move on. And
Yeah.
I think through
Yeah.
podcasting, even, and I don't know about you, but through guests and watching people like to have those 65, 70-year-olds who come on who just started their podcast or who just started their
Yeah.
coaching business is so motivating, role
Yes.
modeling. That's me. I don't want to be done. If I love what I'm doing, I don't want to be done.
Yes.
So,
My
yeah,
favorite
thank
people
you.
to work with are those in their elder years too, because it's
Mhm.
just so encouraging to see that it really is never too late and people can always change and take back parts of their lives or their reclaim their time.
It does help with the rest piece. Like I could feel shoulders go down as you were saying. Once I said there wasn't a stopping point, well, now I can enjoy now because I can enjoy
Hmm.
later. That really brings a lot of peace, knowing that It doesn't have to look like this whole like do the grind, get to retirement, stop. Because I also feel like retirement's a bit of a hoax because the people that I have seen screech into it sometimes are like, now what? Like I fought for this for
Same,
so many years and it's
same problem. Yeah.
under delivering. We need
Yeah.
purpose. Hmm.
Yeah, we need a deeper purpose. Also think we just need an inner core of knowing this is who I am regardless of what I do in a day or what my career is or how my kids are doing or what's in our bank account even. Like, circumstances do matter and they absolutely do, but I think that's what helps us transcend them and also move through them differently because we're doing it from a different place.
Oh, so beautifully stated. I love you're so good. I'm loving this. Okay, I'm going to throw this at you. We both work with women who feel like if progress isn't perfect, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
And I know we just got chuckles and like, me's. Why do you think so many women fall into that mindset?
hmm This is where I have a big bone to pick with the self-help wellness industry. It really thrives off of certainty because
Mm,
certainty sells. People want black and white answers
mm,
because it's more appealing, it feels more possible. People want overnight success. And when it's taught that way and it's sold that way, we believe that's the way.
Great.
But that's not reality.
Right.
And that's why it's such a booming industry because people keep coming back. So it's less sexy to sell. Change is going to take time. You're playing the long
Yes.
game. Like small wins build over time. It's not
Yes.
sexy to say overnight success is a lie.
Right.
Okay. But that is the reality. So this is honestly, I think it's industry led. It's also society led. I mean, we celebrate the overnight successes and quotes that we perceive are happening. We praise the people who are, just so have so much grit and determination and willpower. And we're not going to say those things don't matter. They do. But I think we always, when we're only highlighting one part of the picture, we're missing the full picture, everything else that is part of that. So it's a trap we fall into. It's an ideal we celebrate, but it's largely doing is masking not only reality, but also like I highlighted the prices that I paid. Nobody knew how terribly I was doing to the point where I was really struggling with suicidal ideation. It was my perfectionism, my all or nothing, literally almost cost me my life. And it would have
Mm-hmm.
been a shock to everyone.
Right.
It would have been a shock. Okay. But I felt that same way on the other side of that spectrum too. And maybe it wouldn't have been as much of a shock. I don't know. Regardless, what I would encourage women who have been in that cycle, I want you to zoom out and I want you to ask yourself how many times you have bought into that and how many times did it work out?
Mhm.
Maybe there are some parts of your life where it looked like it worked. Like I was a straight A student in college. I had a scholarship because I was so on top of it all. I had like the enviable body and looks and I don't know, religious righteousness that everybody probably wanted where I lived at the time and yet I almost died. So if it worked to some degree in other ways, how did it make you suffer? What were the prices that you paid for it? And maybe one of the prices, and this is less dramatic but also true, was just sustainability. Were you able
Right.
to maintain it? Then that wasn't working. Is it something that you could continue to do without sacrificing your relationships or your mental health or your health or the other priorities that you carry so dear? Then it wasn't working. That model wasn't working. So that's kind of my soapbox for that. And it's a
Mm.
harsh one because I'll be honest, it is terrifying to try progress instead of perfectionism. It is scary to refuse to believe in the overnight success lie anymore. It is scary. I've had a lot of clients struggle with that fear. But this is what I tell them, and I'll tell the people who are listening. In the trying is the doing. We think to do something that means you like just arrive. Like you work so hard that you just arrive, and that's the doing. And doing
Yeah.
looks like like at all costs. Like this is what I'm doing at all costs. Okay. But really, in the trying is the doing. That's how you get to what you want. You're playing a longer game, but you're playing a truer one. You're not only pursuing the path differently, But as I said a little bit ago, you're also doing it from a different place because you know that's what the path looks like. One of the things that helped me with this, Lindsay, is I actually had a therapist early on in my recovery because as the good perfectionist I was like, I'm going to recover right away. I'm going to work super hard. I'm going to do everything they say. I'm going to
Yeah.
learn a ton and I'm going to change and grow and like get out of this eating disorders, because it was plural, right? So I came to him about 3 months in. I was like, so things are worse, not better. Like things are significantly worse. And I'm doing everything and it is so hard and I'm not going to change. And he looked at me and he said something that I think most people would think, why would a therapist say that to someone who is really struggling, like barely hanging on?
Mhm.
But it helped me. And what he said is, Monica, you are likely going to struggle with this the rest of your life. And when he told me that, it changed the game.
Mhm.
It helped me know that I didn't have to fix it overnight because I couldn't. I was allowed to do it imperfectly. I was allowed to fumble through. I was allowed to have bad days or failures. And knowing that helped me stay on the path. And now, 20 years later, I don't struggle with it in that way. Not even close. I would actually say I don't struggle nearly at all. I'm probably as good as you can get being a modern woman living in this world that we're in terms of body image and food and stuff. I'm as good as you probably can get.
Yeah.
But it only was because I knew it would take time and I was okay to not do it perfectly.
Right. I feel like somebody else had said that expectations are the most underutilized tool when trying to make behavior change, like resetting of
Oh, I
expectation.
believe that. Yes.
And that therapist gave you that in that moment of like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to change your expectations. We need to reframe this. Expect it to be hard forever, and then we'll figure out how to work each season of life as it comes.
That's
Right. And
right.
even though you're in such a good spot right now, even if something triggered it again, you would know more quickly, more resiliently how to come out of it. Yes.
And I will say that happened. I would say like I'm like basically healed. Like I'm totally recovered. But after my fifth was born, the nutshell version of this is I just have really hard pregnancies and they get worse each one I've had. And I know I'm not alone in this. I'm not trying to say I have the worst ever, but I was so sick throughout the whole pregnancy. My hunger cues were gone the entire time, the entire time. And then after I had him, I was so hungry, not just postpartum hungry. It was because all the normal symptoms of hunger were now back in my life again. And it was terrifying.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was so scary for me. And I didn't even realize how scary that would be. So I had to come back to that lesson of this is an adjustment. It's going to take time. This is my body signaling things to me. I have to listen. And it's also okay. This will gradually become more normal. And yeah, it is now. Like now I like don't get scared when I'm so hungry because I know that's normal. I've learned
Yes.
it better.
Well, and I think this is so great to highlight as well, because when we have seen ourselves do a behavior and then you went through a journey of healing, of course, there's going to be that moment when the feelings come back
Yeah.
that our brain wants to be like, here we go. Ready or not, we're going to head right back down that path. But the reality is, and this is why I wanted to highlight this, is that because you did the work, the real mental work, you didn't go back. You
Yeah.
knew your tools on how to keep moving forward. I literally just had this conversation with a client this morning because she was like, I felt the binging feelings coming. I felt like
Yeah.
I had some stress at these different occasions, and here it comes. And I'm like, but did you? She was like, no. Okay, because you're doing the work. She has the
Yeah.
therapist, she has the resources, the dietitian, the accountability system. I don't think you'll go back. I think you'll recognize, but you're almost like, because you know you can't unknow and you can't, like, you know your reasons why you would want to binge and you know that it didn't serve them anymore. So
Yeah.
it doesn't fix
Improvement.
what you're seeking.
Well, improvement doesn't mean you're absent of struggle and recovery and getting better in every area of our life doesn't mean that we don't struggle. Just because we don't yell at our kids anymore doesn't mean we don't get mad at them or feel mad. So that I think again, it's just leveling. This is what it looks like to change. It's a little
Yes.
messy and it's
It's
hard and you're
messy.
human
Yes.
and you have good days and bad days with it. Some days it's easy, some days it's hard. Some days you have to have that Herculean effort to just maintain your thoughts and the coping mechanisms you put in place. I'm talking about anything. And then other days, it's just easier. That's all right.
Hmm. Yeah. And you nailed it with the whole it's not sexy to sell little by little, a little becomes a lot, right? So I would be curious the conversations you're having with your community of when you hear somebody frustrated, or I think when panic buttons get pushed, if somebody feels like they're losing control of a scenario, then they go back to what they know. They go back
Yeah.
to
What
a
feels
diet will
comfortable.
fix it, restriction will fix it.
Hmm.
Like, what's your talk around all of that?
Well, earlier I mentioned that it is terrifying to believe in another way. And a big
Yeah.
part of it is because what we know feels comfortable, but what we know also can keep us stuck. What feels safe can also make us stuck. Okay. So this is one of those things when it's first happening or when you get into another moment where you're like, well, this isn't working or this is hard or this is scary. And then it's just tempting to go right back to what feels comfortable. I'm going to talk about one of the clients that I had early on to coaching. She was one of those women who was all or nothing is the only way that works. That's like the only way I change. And being mean to myself is the only way I change. I have to
Yeah.
be harsh.
Yeah.
And we talked through it. We went through the patterns, like I was telling your listeners to think about, was it sustainable? What prices did I pay? And did it actually work for me? And actually, no, it did in this way and this way, but not this way. And I didn't
Mm.
stick with that thing. So after looking at the information and having the courage to try, that's what she had to do. She had to do the trying part, the experimenting. I'm just going to try because in the trying is a doing. And she did that for a few months and we got together again. And she was telling me about, okay, yeah, I am seeing slowly but surely, like I am changing in these ways, inward out, in ways that I never have before, primarily with the way she was talking to herself, the kindness she was showing to herself. And as part of that, the way she was able to move forward in more sustainable ways than like going hard and then breaking and having that happen. And I was like, this is so fantastic. Like, good job. And she was celebrating that moment for herself. And then I asked her, well, what have you learned? And she said, I've learned it takes the greatest of courage to do the smallest of things.
Hmm.
Never forgotten that.
Yes.
And so that's
Dra-
what I want people to do. Try, take on the greatest of courage to try in the smallest of ways, not because the small ways are a joke, but because that's actually how we build. That is how we change. Slowly but surely, that is how we change. And that has been replicated time and time again with woman after woman that I've worked with.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because it does take that greatness of courage because I know that there's some listeners that are like, I hear that, but I'm still not ready to jump in there. That I don't know what turns the switch. Maybe when we've been beaten up enough that we're like, I have to try something different because if I change nothing, nothing will
Yeah.
change type of thinking. But there is something magic and gold about when that clicks for somebody that if you and I could package that up with a bow, we'd hand it to all of our clients, not knowing of like this really will
Yeah.
make a difference. But
Yes.
it's hard.
It is
Hmm.
hard. And I will say the hardest part of that is unseen. It's internal work that we actually start with.
Oh gosh.
Everything I do as a podcaster, from a coach to a writer, it's all about going both deep and practical because both
Mhm.
have to go hand in hand. It's not just mindset, but it's also not just systems or habits that you put in place. It's both.
Yeah.
But with people who are really struggling with that all or nothing cycle, we always have to start inward with how we speak to ourselves. It's the compassionate voice. Just like that client thought, like the only way I can change is if I'm mean to myself.
Yeah.
That's where we have to start by learning how to use a compassionate voice instead of a shame driven one. Because regardless of where they are on the spectrum, shame drives perfectionism. And compassion is the antidote to that shame. And I'll say it one more way for people who are scared. Shame is the fear that you cannot change. Compassion is the faith that you absolutely can.
Mm.
Compassion is not apathy. That's
Yeah.
actually perfectionism.
Yeah.
Okay. Compassion is what helps you stay on the path because of how you know what the path actually looks like, what it's supposed to feel like, the belief you have in the process, but also the belief that you are gaining in yourself and how you see yourself too. You're allowed to be human, making change differently than you ever have. And then you're going to grow.
Yeah. Drop the mic. So good. I feel like this is a moment. I hope our listeners rewind, listen again, rewind, listen to that again. That could be a morning mantra that everybody needs to hear. We've heard you can't hate yourself into change,
Mm,
and you just spelled it out even more beautifully. And that's a hard one for people to believe too. What do you mean I can love myself into change? That's not always role modeled, it's not always demonstrated. They have to like feel that to start to believe it.
yeah, it's always the proof is in the pudding with this stuff.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
have to be willing to try.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you'll see more and more with time. But it does take time, even that, even those changes.
Right. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, are there pieces of your book? Tell us about your book a little bit that could be beneficial for this slow again study. Like, how do you like people to use your book? What do you want them to get from it?
Hmm. This book is for women who feel like they keep trying habits and failing at them. And maybe it's the same habit over and over, and certain ones are fine with, but maybe it's all of them. Maybe they just feel like no matter what they do, they can't seem to stick with the things they want to do or they feel like they should do. Um, what this is it's the culmination of all my work together. I started with the identity stuff, but I got to the point in my own journey of trying to grow outside of perfectionism where I hit a major plateau. And that's because my practical day to day life was not matching what I knew about myself
Mm.
and what I needed and wanted. And it actually started with I needed to sleep better. And at this point in my life, this is now 8, 9 years ago, I had been working on the progress outside of perfectionism kind of experiment, and I had to translate that to habits because habits is like anything else, self-help oriented, where it's all or nothing, very hingent on perfectionism, discipline, willpower, in the ways that we are taught, like very like perfectionistic driven. Okay. And the experimentation of this is I came up more with a method that's designed for women who have to have flexible lives, who get interrupted, who don't have a predictable schedule, which is all of us, who have less time, who have less energy. That's all of us too. And I can get into all of that, but that's what the book details. It details why women must do habits differently. And there's research backed reasons on this. It's not just anecdotal. It's not just me making this up or pulling it out of a hat. It is decades worth of research backed reasons on why we must do habits differently than their way they're taught. And then I teach how to look at habits differently and then how to form them differently with a practical method to help you do that. And then at the end, we work on bad habits as well. I'll say at the root, I want women to know that habits are helpers. Their only purpose is to help you feel like yourself so that you can show up to your life as yourself because that's what your life, your responsibilities actually need is you.
Mhm.
And so this book, while it can help you be more productive, that's not the point. The point
Yes.
is to help you be yourself. So it's
Yes.
called Sticky Habits, and they can pre-order it now at stickyhabitsbook.com. We have some pre-order bonuses that are really great. And also if it's past the pre-order bonuses, they can still go there and find all the many places they can pre-order it anywhere you get your books.
Well, first of all, congratulations, because writing a book is no small feat. Good job.
Yeah,
Been
thank
there,
you.
done
I
it,
appreciate
and
it.
yes,
You
it's
know,
intense.
it's very
Yes. So
intense.
I mean it. Congrats. I also love the idea when I talk to my clients about when you're really trying to change, it's very helpful to have your nose in a book of the words that you need to be hearing, have a podcast in your ear of the same thing. Like our eyes need to see it, our ears need to hear it. We need to just like curate our surroundings because it is so hard, right? If it was easy, the second that we get out of this curated space, we can bump over into social media and be like right back in the diet mentality, right back in the hang on, there's a quicker way to do this. So it's just, I love that you have a book out in the world. And the habit helpers piece, I just wanted to tag onto that because, as you mentioned, it wasn't about being more efficient, but isn't that a fun side benefit
It
of
is.
when habits and systems are in place? We get decision fatigue removed and we get some of our life back. Like, ha.
Yes. And part of the subtitle of the book is it's a guide for women to ditch perfectionism, reclaim happiness, and form
Hmm.
habits that stick. That's it. I want women's lives to feel like their own again. And that's, yeah, like you said, a side benefit to all of it. But it's not the point, and it's also in a different way than they're taught. It's not like,
Yes.
hey, here's another habit challenge for you. Here's a
Right.
habit, do it for 30 days, and there you go. Bye. It's
Right.
very
Well,
different.
And thank you for doing that. I feel like sometimes I feel the same way in weight loss that I always have to tell my clients, like, I promise we actually are talking weight loss. It will just be a side benefit because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're going to get yourself back. You're going to get your boundaries back. You're going to get all these things that internally change, make you this thriving individual. Hey, and by the way, you're accidentally going to lose some weight
Yeah.
because that's how it happens. So we're talking same thing in different areas of
Yeah.
life, and it's proof in the pudding, right? Like that
Mm,
it works that way. I'm okay. So I will put where to grab your book in the show notes.
thank you.
One of the things, and I feel like you've already given this to our listeners today, but kind of people get distracted.
Yeah.
If they heard nothing else, if you could wrap your arms around them, pour some love on them, like what's the one thing that you're like, if you really could just take this away, it'd be the best starting point ever.
hmm So this is kind of a spoiler on the last chapter of the book, but this is what I want everyone to take away from anything I teach. And
Mhm.
it's you can change. One of our deepest fears is that we will be stuck where we are. And that's why we also fall for that all or nothing cycle because we desperately don't want to stay where we are. We want things to
Yes.
change. But I just want every woman listening, regardless of what the thing is for her, you can change. You absolutely can.
Thank you. I believe you. Thank you for the hope today, your time, your wisdom. You're amazing, Monica. Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me this space and time.